I'd like to call this September 9th Open Student Senate meeting to order. Secretary Battery, please call the roll.
Patrick Hill.
Here.
Tony McComiskey.
Here.
Ben Kaplan.
Here.
Jim Fellinger.
Here.
Taylor Burry. Here. Greg Brittingham.
Here.
Johnny Gill.
Here.
Mariah Johnson. John Madelon.
Here.
Aaron Niles.
Here.
John Price.
Here.
Sean Moran.
Here.
Michael Harmon.
Here.
Mira Bragg.
Here.
Chad Killen.
Here.
Chris Lasik.
Here.
Steph Lawn.
Here.
Ashley Slobodin.
Here.
Catherine Thompson.
Here.
Francis Arrigo. Hannah Benz.
Here.
Aaron Meacham.
Here.
Gerard Ciscani.
Here.
Jackie Turret.
Here.
Mark Wolf.
Here.
Tiana Wu.
Here.
Alex Adolfo. Brooke Goodschik.
Here.
Nicholas Papadis.
Here.
Papadis. Amelia Smith.
Here.
Anthony Wagner.
Here.
Annabelle Waplinger.
Here.
Ben Zabore.
Here.
26 PCG.
Here.
ACM.
Here.
Active Minds.
Here.
Allies.
Here.
APO.
Here.
Autism Speaks.
Here.
Biosphere.
Here.
Black Student Union.
Here.
Bomb Squad. Cheers.
Here.
China Culture Club. Civil War Club.
Here.
Class of 2013.
2014 here.
2014. Class of 2015.
Here.
Class of 2016.
Here.
Class of 2017.
Here.
Classics Club.
Here.
College Dems.
Here.
College Republicans.
Here.
Colleges Against Cancer. Dance Ensemble.
Here.
Dance Team.
Here.
Disciple Makers Christian Fellowship.
Here.
Drop the Octave.
Here.
Film Society.
Here.
Four Scores.
Here.
Free Thinker Society.
Here.
Game Club.
Here.
G-Berg TV.
Here.
Gecko.
Here.
German Club.
Here.
Gettysburg Student Musical Theater.
Here.
Gospel Choir.
Here.
Habitat for Humanity. International Affairs.
Here.
International Club.
Here.
Italian Club. Japan.
Here.
Jazz Appreciation Society. LASA.
Here.
Law and Justice Society.
Here.
Love Campaign. Lutheran Student Movement.
Here.
Mock Trial. NAACP. Allen Nightingale.
Here.
Pain and Turtle Farm.
Here.
Pre-Health Club.
Here.
Pre-Vet Club.
Here.
SAGHA.
Here.
Sarah. SASA.
Here.
Shots in the Dark.
Here.
Slavic Club.
Here.
Skeptical Chemists.
Here.
Society of Physics Students.
Here.
Student Alumni.
Here.
Swing Club. Upscale.
Here.
Shoot. Motion to approve last week's minutes.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? The meeting's passed. Okay, everyone. So first off, that was an awesome Midnight Madness on Saturday. It's nice to see the Republicans and Democrats getting together and putting on an event. I like that. It's bipartisan. So tomorrow I'll be meeting with President Riggs and on Thursday Dean Ramsey to talk about the college. So if you have any points that you'd like me to bring up, you can shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll definitely raise those concerns. Next week we'll have Provost Dappy coming and he'll be talking about the middle states process, if anyone remembers that conversation from last year. I'm pretty sure everyone, if you log on to Moodle, there's also a questionnaire. So please fill that out. I haven't checked it out yet, but it looks like there's a questionnaire, so please fill that out. The following week will be Jeff Foster, and we'll be reviewing the social policies that were put in place this year. So also, if you have concerns or questions, we'd like to keep that meeting very respectful and try to make it really easy for everyone to sort of voice their opinions and raise their questions. So we're going to ask that you email them to us first, and then we'll review the questions, and then depending on time and in the interest of who wants to speak, we'll send you an email saying whether or not you're good to go or not. Tonight we'll also be looking at the budget. We're hoping to pass it, and we have one club coming for Senate recognition. And this Friday, the class officers will be meeting at 12:15 with Morgan Stocker, basically to talk about what their role is and what we'll be doing for the year. So Tony?
No report.
Okay. Ben?
The fall preliminary budget is finished as of like half an hour ago when the last club came for requests. I'll be presenting on that in new business and hopefully passing the budget today. For the rest of the semester, if your club needs to make a fund request, there will be hearings scheduled every Monday. If you're on the club's alias, you should have received an email from me. If you're not, or you don't know how to schedule, or you need help with something, or you haven't gotten the email, please come talk to me, because I can't help you get a hearing if I don't know about it. That's all.
Thanks, Ben. Christiana?
The aliases should all be updated. If you're not getting emails, especially senators, come talk to me afterwards and I'll hook you up.
Great, Jim.
How's it going, guys? Hope you all had a great weekend. So next week, Paulcom is going to be having its first meeting. We're going to be going over some reforms to the election policy that we're going to be making. So we already have a committee, but if anyone else is interested in being a part of that, please shoot me an email and let me know.
Great. Taylor?
Okay, so clubs registration was due today. Thank you so much for all the clubs that sent their registration, especially like the plethora I got yesterday today. But there are still 13 clubs that didn't register, so I'm going to call you out now. Active Minds, Gettysburg TV, Gospel Choir, Habitat for Humanity, Italian Club, Love Campaign, Lutheran Student Movement, NAACP, SARA, Shots in the Dark, Society of Physics Students, Student Alumni Association, and Swing Club. And if you don't send in your registration by Thursday, then you're going to be put on probation, so please get that in to me. And also, the Clubs Workshop is this Sunday, September 22nd. It starts at 1:30 and it's in here, Club 260. And I would like one representative from each club to come, so please do that. And I will send out an email reminder later in the week.
Great, thanks, Taylor. If you'll also look, we now have an advisory report, and that will be for John if he has anything that he'd like to raise to the Senate. He's not here today. He's actually in Chambersburg. His son had a soccer game. But just for the next, for the rest of the semester, rest of the year, John, if he has a report, he'll be the next person to go. And then we'll go into old business, which we have none of. So we're going to go right into new business, and I'd like to introduce Rosalie Dillon. She is here to talk about the Gettysburg Address and hopefully an initiative that we can get involved in. So I'd like to bring her and Dean Ramsey up.
Thanks, Pat. Everybody, I'm going to be really brief. My part of this is very brief. I have the pleasure of introducing Rosalie Dillon, who is a resident of Gettysburg. She moved to Gettysburg about 7 years ago, and during that period of time has gotten very interested, extremely interested, in history and everything related to the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln and all the things that we've been reading about so much in the last several months related to the 150th. She came to the college to visit with President Riggs about a couple months ago, a few months ago, July. And the president was really intrigued with the proposal you're about to hear. But she said, we need to present this proposal to the students and let the students hear about this and kind of make up their own minds. And so she sent it to me. I contacted Pat. We contacted Rosalie, and Pat generously invited her to present to you all this evening. So if you'll give her your attention, she has a proposal she'd like to share with you.
Thank you, Dean Ramsey. Thank you, Patrick, for working with me in advance and with all the senators to send that email out to you so you would know before I stood up here what this is about. Also, I want to expand on the notes tonight that Patrick emailed to you, and we'll do an exercise together, and then I'll take your questions. My name is Rosalie Dillon. Can you hear me okay? Okay. In my 7 years in Gettysburg, the history and the significance of Gettysburg and of President Lincoln have worked on me to the point that this memorization and recitation project is bubbled up, and it has been consuming me in quite a wonderful way. I've talked to lots of people about it. I've gathered many supporters, one of whom is my friend and your Spanish teacher who knows Paula Olinger. I have Paula to thank for introducing me to President Riggs. The Gettysburg Address is often cited as the most inspiring and the most concise declaration ever of who we are as a country. It inspires people all over the world. Infrequently in life, something highly unusual occurs as an opportunity to step into. Memorizing and reciting Lincoln's Gettysburg Address brings such an opportunity to every person who does it, regardless of their age, their faith, their color, their educational background, or any of the things that could be used to divide us. The Gettysburg Address inspires people to get busy together on that unfinished work, which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It reminds us of the great task remaining before us, of the thirst in today's world for the increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. Let's just take a little survey here. How many people in this room can say the Pledge of Allegiance from memory? Please raise your hand. How many can sing the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, from memory? Okay. How many can recite Lincoln's Gettysburg Address from memory? The one that starts 407 years ago?
Raise your hand.
The fact is that very few citizens in these United States know the Gettysburg Address by heart. Here at the college, you students hear it recited in the Battlefield Cemetery when you do that famous freshman walk, right? You might read it as you come across it on a monument or in a book, or you might study it in a class. But memorize it and recite it. Public schools here in Pennsylvania had that requirement for many years for all students until that got axed from the curriculum. So now please reflect on this possibility. What if on this coming November 19th, thousands of people, 15,000 people, 150,000 people? What if 150,000 people all around the world recite the Gettysburg Address because of you? Because of you, they would start by making a promise to memorize and recite the Gettysburg Address wherever in the world they're located on November 19th. Then they cement that promise, this is very important, by promising to keep their promise. Because of you, they memorize it line by line, sentence by sentence, until they can say it by heart. It's only 272 words. It takes less than 3 minutes to say, and kindergartners memorize it. People practice it until they can recite it from memory, until they know it, until it's really in them, and it becomes part of them. Then they choose a time, a place, and an audience, small or large, a public place or in the privacy of their own home. They choose to recite it alone, or with a friend, or family, or with a group. They set it up exactly the way they want to do it. And then they deliver on their promises. 150,000 people recite the Gettysburg Address exactly 150 years after Abe Lincoln did that right here in Gettysburg. Just picture it, thousands and thousands of people, people who would not otherwise have ever thought of doing this, are speaking Lincoln's words from memory into the listening ears of thousands and thousands of others who otherwise would not hear those words. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address earns unusually high-minded respect from people in all walks of life, all around the world. They appreciate Lincoln's rhetoric, his careful choice of words. They relish the beauty and the richness and the depth of the whole address. They love the deep places inside them that it reaches. Often it inspires them into action. An increase in inspired action like that is something that this nation is really thirsting for. Because of you, the possibility of creating these effects could be increased exponentially. Let's be perfectly clear, this would not be mandatory, not for anyone. There's no requirement to say yes. It's not an assignment from a class or anything. This would be a pure invitation. You would be inviting people to consider the opportunity and to say yes or no. That's what an invitation is. They can say yes or no. What might the effects of this be? What beautiful, profound, inspired possibilities could result from people making and keeping these two promises? From thousands of voices reciting Lincoln's words because of you. This project is worth doing to discover the answers, to discover the effects that will result right here on your campus, in the surrounding Gettysburg community, all around the country, to see what might occur from enlivening Lincoln's words, from catapulting the Gettysburg Address into our current consciousness, from powerfully and personally bringing this national treasure to the forefront of our national conversation in 2013. I deeply appreciate your willingness to consider this Lincoln Gettysburg Address project. I want you to say yes to taking it on, to owning it as your own project and rolling it out, all very quickly, of course, because you can move mountains in the next 64 days. You can exercise your own increased devotion to the great task remaining before us. What will it look like? Of course, you would establish whatever process works for you here. As a starting place, here's my view. You assemble an effective team with really terrific leadership. You name the project. You set your own goal for how many people will say yes to becoming reciters. You make a game big enough to get everyone's attention, not puny goal, but a big enough goal to get everybody's attention. You involve different departments on campus, from Civil War studies to the business department, computer science to theater, naming just a few. You create a plan, and you create a structure that would implement that plan. You write a script, something that everyone can use when they talk to others about making the promises. You generate minimal materials to support it, get a website where people can register and where we can put up updates of what's happening. You share this opportunity with your club members, with your student body, with your faculty members, with your friends at other colleges, with your family. You even share it with famous people, with influential people, with the first family. President Obama and the first family could be invited by the Gettysburg College students to memorize the Gettysburg Address. You spread the invitation using whatever methods you like, and there are many media for doing so, as we all well know. You involve community members and community leaders from the Gettysburg area. You involve alumni of Gettysburg College, people living all over the world. Done right, this will hit the media. You will be visited. Done right, this will spread in many unpredictable ways. And done right, this could go viral. I know you know what that means. In a moment, I'll take your questions and then conclude. But first, I have an exercise that I'd like to ask you to do. If Dean Ramsey would pass out these sheets for everyone to get one of these. Make sure everybody in the room gets one. Nobody left out. A friend of mine came up with this exercise. We call it 3D for 3 dimensions. And we used it in our creativity workshop. With corporate groups, with nonprofit groups, with other college students. It's easy, it's quick, and it produces a lot of information that will be extremely useful after we're all done here tonight. You need a writing instrument, please, and your paper. Does everyone have to write? Who needs a pen or a pencil?
Hey, extras. Appreciate
Yeah.
You go more.
Everybody have a sheet.
Okay. On the sheet are 3 columns. Please label the columns exactly this way, please. The first column is for what you like about this proposal. What are its pluses? Please draw something like this at the top of the first column. What do you like about this proposal? What are the pluses? Your own version of a happy face, right? Second column is for what you do not like about it. What are its minuses? What's wrong with this project? Okay, second column. The third column is for what you find to be curious or interesting about it. Scratching your beard, your chin, what's interesting about this project? What's curious about it? It's not a plus or a minus, but it's something that's got you thinking. Okay? At the bottom of the sheet is a place for you to identify yourself. It's completely optional, up to you. Anonymous is fine. Now please take 3 minutes and write in these columns what you like, what you don't like, what you find curious or interesting. fine to start anywhere, skip around, whatever process you use is just fine. But one thing, please do write legibly. About 1 minute gone. That's about 2 minutes. Now please, notice if you have any column that doesn't have anything in it yet. If you have any column that's completely blank, try to get something in every column. See if you can plod your own thinking process to come up with just something in every column. Okay, enough, please just finish up. And as soon as you're done, pass everything down to this row here, file, and you'll collect it at this end. And thank you for doing it. Now you are aware that President Briggs has asked me to make this presentation to you. The question is why? So I asked, what do you see? What do you see as the relevance of Gettysburg College students taking on this project as their own? Anyone? Absolutely. What do you see as the relevance of Gettysburg College students taking this project on as their own? What difference would it make? Why would President Briggs say, let's have the student body consider doing this in addition to everything else that they're doing? Why would this be brought to you to consider? Yes?
I think it's an interesting link with history because a Gettysburg College student was the one who initiated the request for President Lincoln to come down, which did create the Gettysburg Address. So I think throwing it to the student body is a really interesting connection with that kind of history.
Okay, and that was a person? David Wilson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next.
Tiana, did you have your hand raised?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's a good way to tie us into the community and also get us more known outside as well.
Please say that again. Tied to the community and
Just exposure for the college.
exposure for the college. Yes, it would bring a lot of exposure to the college. Thank you. Other thoughts? Yes.
not only would it just be exposure in general, but it would be positive exposure with connecting to the community. And now in today's day and age, when particularly you hear about colleges, universities, a lot of the times it's a negative light. So this is a change of pace.
Yes, it is a change of pace. Did everybody hear that? Okay, positive, a light shining on the college, unlike the negative press that so many college stories bring. Other reasons, other relevancies that this would have for you as college students at Gettysburg College to take this on. Okay? Okay, yes, thank you.
Well, first off, we're Gettysburg College, and we're also a large body of people that have a lot more pull than, you know, a few people in town. It's easier for us to get together and do something rather than, you know, a few people in town.
Yes, easier than for me to do it myself. Let's say thank you. Other thoughts? Down there? Yes, thank you.
Also, by getting like college students, like college age students involved, it shows that Abraham Lincoln's words are still prevalent, and it's good national pride to exhibit by a college institution, especially if it'll be positive light for just the younger generation as a whole.
Excellent, thank you.
Rosie, I think there's a question.
And again? No?
Okay.
Okay, well, now what I want to do is open it up for any questions that you might have. I've asked my questions. If you do have any questions about it or anything you want to say about it to the whole group. Yes?
Well, since we're reciting Gettysburg Address and was actually done in Pennsylvania College, could the student body for that, I guess, 19 days, could Gettysburg College be temporarily be renamed Pennsylvania College so we can keep maybe continue, it just fits of how, if the student body is a part, the student body was associated, if David Wills was associated as the person who brought Lincoln, so he saw the Gettysburg Address, why not keep the tradition as well of having the college be temporarily called Pennsylvania College?
So there's a bold proposal, temporarily call college, Pennsylvania College during the 19 days, first 19 days of November. Gotcha. Other questions? Yes?
I just have to comment, doesn't that kind of undercut the idea of getting Gettysburg College exposure? It just causes a lot of confusion.
Good, yep, yep. Yes?
Has there been any discussions with the National Park Service or the foundation regarding this project?
Regarding this particular proposal?
Yeah.
No, we have not. Do you see some possibilities there?
Well, definitely. I mean, yeah.
So involving the National Park Service and the battlefield?
Yeah, the Gettysburg Foundation.
And the
It's a
Gettysburg
nonprofit.
Foundation? How about, are you all aware that the college has a sesquicentennial commission? Right? A whole bunch of big name people, right? Yeah, they might be interested in this. They thought that the students should have the opportunity to take it on as a project. That's how it got to you, was from the sesquicentennials. Yes?
I don't know how this would be done, but I think it would be important if this is done that a lot of us going to Gettysburg College, we know the significance of the Gettysburg Address. Most people, just asking them to memorize it, they're just memorizing words. Most people don't know the actual significance of the Gettysburg Address, so there would have to be some sort of educational process to not only have them memorize it, but put it in the context of the time. Why is it important? Why should you memorize it? However that could be done.
Context of the time then, and relevance to the times now? Both, yes? Other questions, other thoughts? Yes?
Who else did you propose this to?
Pardon?
Who else did you propose this to?
Well, I proposed it to your president because I thought that was the best place to go. I've talked with the middle school principal here in Gettysburg, Jim O'Connor, and he has said that he would be interested, he hasn't committed to this, but he'd be interested in having all 620 middle school students do it, memorize it, and be ready on November the 19th to recite it. So that was a big hit. In terms of proposals, I've actually been gathering support more than proposing the idea. So I've talked with alumni of your college who live here in town. There's some very active and very prominent people in your town are alumni. I've talked with Jim Getty, who likes to impersonate Lincoln. He thinks it's a great idea for lots of people to impersonate Lincoln, and for him to not be the only one who memorizes and can recite the Gettysburg Address. So, like that. Yes.
So can we just take one more question? And if you have any other questions or comments, I can give you Rosalie's email, and we'll plan on maybe talking later next week, or rather earlier than later. And if there's any clubs or organizations that would be interested in taking this on, you can contact me, and I'll put you in contact with Rosalie. But for now, we kind of, in the interest of time, we'll just take one more question, and then we'll be in contact with you later.
I was going to ask if you've been in contact with high schools in the area, or just like branching out to the general, the school districts in the area.
I have not, but Mr. O'Connor has.
Okay.
I know that he sent a blanket email to all the principals in the borough schools as well as in the nearby schools. I don't know the results.
Because if you were going to go to other schools, you could also maybe send something to Harrisburg and have the governor, like, because this would be something that like the governor might be like, oh, well, my state's in the national limelight, maybe I should get behind this.
Yes, I want you to know you would not be alone in this. It's important to know that a press release today from Utah reveals that Utah is now starting tomorrow. They're launching a statewide project called Getty Ready. This is the website, gettyready.org. And you might take a good look at what they're up to, because they're having all of the students and all of the citizens of the state of Utah memorize and recite the Gettysburg Address. Gettyready.org. I look forward to your considerations and to see what you come up with.
Thank you very much. So like I said earlier, if you have any questions, or if you want to be, if you want to take this on, send me an email, and we'll try to get a committee of people together that, really want to make this their own. So I'd like to bring Jennifer up. Switching gears, I'd like to thank Rosalie again. Please get another round of applause.
Okay, so I need to get an honest pulse on how you all are doing, because I've gathered that you all are used to getting out of here around this time. The presentation that I have for you is a half an hour long. And so I want an honest opinion on this, just because I don't want to get into a presentation that has so much important information when I could really reschedule to come a different time. So what we could do is I can go through the PowerPoint. It has some pretty important information. I was supposed to talk to you about sexual assault and an update on policy, but I incorporated that into a much more important message of bystander intervention. But that's something that I really need you all to hear. Or we can just do kind of a question and answer on where our sexual assault policy is and see what you all actually want to know. So I don't know, Pat, do you want to gauge that?
Can we just put it up to a vote?
Okay, show of hands, PowerPoint presentation.
Is that
all right, summary on what's going on and some questions, I think. The only reason I even put this up as an option is because truly the bystander intervention message is one that you need to be actively engaged in hearing it, or else it won't be relevant. So I'll wing it then. Let's talk about the sexual misconduct policy. How many of you are aware that last year was the first year for a new sexual misconduct policy? Okay, all right, so not even half of the room. How many of you are aware of what Title IX is? Okay, that's good. Somebody want to give me just a general overcap of what you know about Title IX? Anybody? Go for it.
That it's opposed to discrimination based on gender in school programs, sports and academics.
Absolutely correct. What else does Title IX include? Okay, that's the extent of what most people know. So let me give you an update. He was 100% correct that it deals with gender equity and equality with athletics teams, with academics, with a number of things, making sure that there's equal representation. Title IX also covers sexual assault, sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, and how a college or university and how institutions respond to that. And what it tells us is that we have an obligation to collect information, investigate, and be sure that people know how to report, know resources, and know the process. And so what we've been trying to do is spend some time talking to everybody about what our policy is, what the process is, and one of the steps that we took to do that is making sure that you all had some type of education. So who are first year students in here? All right, do you all remember taking a course called Haven with Alcohol EDU? All right, so Haven was the first phase, and that was for all incoming first year students. We had 100% completion rate on this. For the rest of you, you took lasting choices on your dashboard this year. Do you recognize that? There was a video, we did, yes, a lot of head nods. For upper class students, there was about a 90% completion rate, so we still have some who need to get that done. But what Lasting Choices in Haven did was it gave you an introduction to some of the definitions that we need you to know about. And so with our new sexual misconduct policy that went into place last year, it really got into detail about defining Title IX and what Title IX means. It got into detail about defining definitions and being sure that you all are able to articulate that some of the key things we need you to know is what consent means, what incapacitation is, and what sexual misconduct is overall, and how many broad terms there are that we're covering when we say sexual misconduct. So what is the definition of consent? Can anybody tell me what consent is? Big problem. Nobody in here can tell me what consent means.
I can try and wing it.
Okay.
When two sober parties agree upon sexual activity.
That was actually a really important way that he phrased that. He said two sober parties agreeing on sexual contact. The emphasis on sober was important, and thank you so much for saying that. Consent just means that someone has given effective consent, and typically we tell you that effective consent means verbal. All right, that's the best form of consent that one could possibly give is verbal. Now, there are other ways that a person can consent. We recognize that, sorry. We recognize that, but the best way to have consent is in the moment. I know it feels like it's gonna kill the moment sometimes, but in the moment to say, hey, are you okay with me doing this? And that's what we're trying to tell people. And so once you have that verbal yes, then you have the go to go ahead. Oftentimes, what happens in cases of sexual assault are that people don't have consent, or they have consent from someone who is incapacitated, and the person who is incapacitated cannot actually give consent. What is incapacitation? What does that mean?
It means not that they're not responsive, but that they are intoxicated in some way. So I think it's like it can be argued any amount of alcohol consumption disqualifies someone from giving consent.
Any amount of alcohol.
Wouldn't it not be just necessarily just alcohol consumption, but it would be under the influence of anything?
There you go. So under the influence of alcohol or any drug, a person is not capable of giving consent. Incapacitation does not just deal with alcohol and other drugs. Incapacitation truly deals with any form of blackout, memory loss, that a reasonable person would not perceive that this person is in a state to give consent. And so typically we see that in cases where someone is like blackout drunk or using some form of drug or anything of that nature. But what we're trying to get across to people is that you have to have consent, and that an incapacitated person or a person who has been consuming alcohol, you can safely assume that they cannot give consent. And what we did was we broadened all of these definitions to even get to who was the initiator of contact. But we say, once someone reports it, we're gonna do an investigation. We've always said that. But how we changed that is we changed how someone can report it. So we used to have an anonymous reporting form, and what we did was we got away with the anonymous reporting form, and we moved to the community concern form. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you have seen the community concern form or heard of it? Okay. So the community concern form, you can find it on the student landing page, you can find it on DPS site, you can find it on the Student Rights and Responsibility website, you can find it on the Dean of Students website. This form is everywhere, and it's important for you all to know that that form is there because it can be used for general care concerns. If you're concerned about a person on campus, it can be used for crime tips, for harassment, for bullying, for hazing, for sexual assault, for bias incidents. This form is kind of a catch-all so that you can go to one place and know that you can report something and it's going to get to the right person. What it did, though, is it got away with the option to report anonymously. And so to start giving you some of the updates on what happened once we changed this policy is that we had 5 reports of sexual misconduct during the 2011-12 academic year. We could only investigate 2 of them because 3 of them were anonymous. All right? That would not be best effort on our part if Title IX, if OCR, the Department of Education, were to come in and say, hey, what did you do to investigate? Well, we couldn't investigate because we didn't have information. Well, why didn't we have information? Because we allowed people to give anonymous reports. So we got away with that. As a result, in the 2012-2013 year, which was last year, the first year of the new policy and the first year of the reporting form, we had 12 cases reported, 12 cases investigated. All right, so our reports more than doubled. Now, the important thing about that is while it's great that it's being reported, it's a tragedy that we have 12 students on our campus who had to experience something like that, right? But the travesty is that 95% of sexual assaults go underreported on college campuses. 95% go unreported, all right? Less than 5% of reports of what's happening on campus actually make it to our office. And so it's really important, the message about bystander intervention, which you all can also hear me talk about on November 15th for the Women's Center. That message is important so that you can hear how you can start to change the culture on this campus when it comes to sexual assault. Understanding the definition is the most important thing. So I'm not disappointed that I don't get to show you this presentation, because just by knowing the definitions in our policy, you have a chance to really start to change the culture. But there's a lot more that you can do to intervene when you're actually seeing something, because we are all witness to a number of things that lead to that we could have intervened in, that we could have truly stopped had we said something. A number of things that happen on campus in dark rooms at night, all right? It's not always in dark rooms. Sometimes it's in the middle of the day. But oftentimes on this campus and nationally, 97% of all sexual assaults on college campuses involve alcohol. And I can tell you that on our campus, probably 97% of the sexual assaults that are reported on our campus involve alcohol. And so we just need you all to understand the definitions of consent, incapacitation, and sexual misconduct. What is sexual misconduct?
Maybe not be intercourse, but any type of like unwanted sexual advances.
Great definition. That's a very broad but good catch-all. It's any type of unwanted sexual advances. And so our policy covers sexual misconduct, going through sexual assault, going through sexual exploitation, sexually inappropriate behaviors. There are a number of things that are covered in that policy. So you all should just be sure that you take a look. In your student planner for first years, you have it online. There's also the sexual misconduct policy in our handbook. There's also a sexual misconduct resource site so that you all know. www.gettysburg.edu/sexual misconduct resource. And what that is it outlines the policy, but it outlines the steps and procedure. So the most important piece that I need to tell you about, besides definitions, is what else we changed in that policy that we have seen. It's just helpful for us nationally. It hasn't been tested yet, but it's helpful for us to know that we're in line with what we should be doing. And that was changing our appeals process. We really outlined that once something is reported, not only are we going to investigate, we're going to follow up like we always do. So we're going to meet with students, and it's a student's choice if they actually want something adjudicated or if they want the police involved. So if something is reported, the student can still say, I don't want anything done with that, and we'll say, okay, that's fine. Here are some resources for you, but that's all right. But what we're going to do is we're going to say, if you do want this to go through a process, here are your resources. Here's how we're going to support you through that. Here's some resources for the respondent, because the respondent needs something too, right? That's something heavy to be accused of. And so we're going to support all students involved. And then Dean Ramsey, who happens to be here tonight, I always talk to students about her being the sole hearing officer. She is the sole hearing officer of those cases. And so it goes to her. There's privacy maintained, not confidentiality. And I'll close on that. But after that, there's an appeal process that we have clearly outlined in this new policy that talks about the right for a complainant or respondent to appeal a decision. And so it's really important, if you are not familiar with this policy, for you to familiarize yourself with it. Sexual assaults are not just a women's issue. The statistics are that 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted, that 1 in 70 men are sexually assaulted. And so oftentimes we think of that and we say, oh, because more women are sexually assaulted, this is a women's issue. Jackson Katz, and he's someone who you all should really see a talk that he did, he would argue that this is a human issue because there are so many of us that are experiencing this or affected by it in some way. So men are sexually assaulted, but we also know that men have family members who are experiencing this as well. And so something that we should all pay attention to and care about. And so Just be sure that you understand that you can report, know those definitions. The community concern form is really important. There's the whole appeal process. And then if you need to report, the official way to do that is through the Department of Public Safety, the College Life Office, the community concern form. If you need a confidential resource, that's the Counseling Center or Health Services. Those are the only two confidential places on campus, all right?
How do you deal with false claims? Is it just the appeals process, or is there other ways?
False claims are very rare. It's interesting that you brought that up. Nationally, false claims are about 2% of all reports, but if there were a false claim, that would come up during the investigation process. It wouldn't even have to get to the appeal. All right? Other questions? That was a lot of information, right?
How long does someone have to report it?
That's a great question. Technically, you can report as long as both students are matriculated students. And so all the way up until someone graduates, you have the ability to report. We prefer for it to be sooner so that we have the ability to investigate with information that's still active in people's minds.
What happens after that, though? Like if something happens senior year with seniors and the graduation or goes through the process, what happens?
If they graduate, that's it. We have to close that case.
Does it become
Only if the
criminal
person
case?
decides to take it through the criminal route. But as far as the college is concerned, because a person can do one or both or neither. So they can go through the college process without going through the criminal process. They can go through the criminal process without the college, or they can say, I don't want to do either, or they can say, I want to do both. So, but once they graduate, that's it. Other questions? So did I answer your questions on update on the status? Did you hear me kind of go through some numbers? All right, Dean, you want to add anything?
You did a great job, Jen.
All right, everyone, have a good evening.
Thanks, Jen. All right, bear with us, guys. Thank you. Now we're gonna have Ben present the budget so we can pass it, so all the clubs can get money next week. So
It's always a good thing. Okay, so we're 45 minutes into the meeting. I'll make this really quick. As of today, we finished the preliminary budget process, and the total for our budget comes out to $35,346.65 for the fall semester. I'm pretty happy with this budget overall. We've been continuing to go with the policy of attempting to fund as many events as possible while still cutting standard issue things like food for club meetings or decorations and the like. A lot of what was cut from the requested amount, which is that, $45,000, where a decent chunk of that was things we asked clubs to come back with once they had more specific numbers, because we're really not comfortable with funding events that we don't really know if you'll spend that much money. It could just be a rough estimate. So that will leave us with $56,000 for the remainder of the year, but we also have a rather large rollover account of $39,000, and we're hoping not to add another $10,000 to that this year. So it's a pretty sizable budget, but it's roughly what we've passed in previous years, and I think we'll be able to fund a lot of events with it. It's 37 clubs represented. So, any questions that anyone has?
Missing figure.
It makes it harder to see the other numbers, but yes.
anyone else?
Anything else?
So some of the things that were cut during the prelim budget hearing, because of this remainder, I know you're saving this for other events that might be proposed throughout the year, but if there was something that we were cut on, for example, like you said, like transportation for a speaker or something, is that something we can come back later on, or is that a done deal?
If we told you to come back later on for something that you weren't sure on, please do come back because we asked you to. If we cut something because the MC wasn't willing to fund it, you can still request an additional hearing. It's highly likely we will recommend the same amount. You are allowed to appeal that before Senate, which you can't do during prelim process. but the BMC will still recommend $0 or however much was recommended before.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the budget.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? The budget passes. All right. And our final order of business, I would like to bring Interfaith Council for re-recognition.
Hi everyone, very quickly, I just want to get through this. First of all, my name is Jordan Sidrich, I'm the president of the Interfaith Council. I just want to read through our mission statement real quick and tell you one or two events that we're going to host throughout the year and hopefully you approve us. So the mission statement of the Interfaith Council is to increase cooperation between all faith-based organizations and fostering a safe place on campus where students and faculty of various religions and spiritual backgrounds can engage in dialogue and plan events. And that last part is really important because we're really trying to get some fun things on campus that everyone can engage in no matter what faith you belong to. This semester, we're getting an actress from New York City that does a lot of plays that she writes in the interfaith setting. It's a comedy. We're trying to rent Klein Theater for the evening and have about 200 students max in Klein Theater come and watch her. It's a really good show. We'll be co-sponsoring 2 events with Allies and Free Thinker Society. They have a discussion panel every semester. We're going to have a post-panel discussion as well with all of them. And next semester we hope to have Ibn Patel, who is the president of the Interfaith Youth Corps in Chicago. It's an international organization that he heads to train college students in interfaith dialogue, and we hope to have him on campus next semester. So those are some of the things we want to do, so hopefully you approve that for us. Thank you.
Oh,
Actually, sorry.
Are there any questions?
So you're coming for a recognition. When were you de-recognized?
I don't know specific dates because I just became president. I know it was within the last 2 years or so we were recognized. The club kind of had a slump and no one went through the formalities of becoming recognized again. And we just want to make sure we can get back on track.
Okay. Tiana?
How many people do you have in the club now?
Right now, we officially, the active membership that comes to the clubs that we've been having, the meetings we've been having every week is about, I'd say 10 people. We have a lot of communication within the other clubs though, so there's a lot more people that are actually active that don't come to the regular meetings.
You have an exec committee, or is it just you right now trying to pull it all together?
We have 3 officers. We have the president, vice president, the secretaries here as well today.
Okay. Anyone else?
Motion to pass, re-recognize.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Congrats. Okay, committee reports. Academic affairs.
No report.
BMC.
No report.
Qualcomm.
Like I said, if you have any interest in being a part of reworking a little bit of election policy, please let me know.
Clack.
We're sending out emails this week to get our schedule coming for schedule. So we'll keep you posted.
Great. Special events and programming.
Yeah, so next week on Tuesday and Thursday in my committee, we're going to be at the gazebo from 10 to 12, but unfortunately I only have 2 people in my committee, and we both have class, all 3 of us have class from 10 to 11, so if anyone would want to come and help out, stand at the gazebo, answer any questions you want to send it, that would be awesome. Please come and talk to me after the meeting. We really need people.
There's going to be servo cookies, so
Yeah.
that's an incentive.
From 10 to 12.
We need someone from 10 to 11, but it's from 10 to 12.
PR.
Yeah, no report.
Student safety and regulations.
Working with DPS still, I'm trying to get Huber Lock passed. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm going to start doing crime reports and putting those out because DPS has those every week. And DPS wants to become more transparent with the student body, so that I think is a good step in the right direction.
Great. Sustainability.
I know I've been annoying you all about during the recycling Olympics on Friday, October 25th. But we haven't really gotten a lot of people or clubs to do it, especially since the sustainability clubs on campus and a few other organizations. So if you guys want to get involved, it's a really fun, quick, easy game and just
Great. Club reports or announcements? Yeah.
Classics Club, Classics Department is having a little late welcome back session from 5 to 7. It's from May
And when will this be?
Tomorrow at YXL Lobby, 5 to 7.
Thanks.
Yeah.
The Eisenhower Institute is having a undergraduate fellow presentation on space exploration, and that will be this Thursday in Joseph Theater from 7:30 to 9. And we have professionals coming from NASA to come speak.
Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Go.